thank you so much for joining me for this yoga session. Hopefully you've got all the things you need, you've gathered them around you, and you've got what can support you during the practice. A yoga mat, at least as much room as a yoga mat, some blankets for comfort, and also your yoga blocks. Don't forget to have some water to drink, and find that comfortable seat, letting yourself settle in on your breath, taking time to unhook from the world. Letting yourself settle in on your breath. Remember, don't let your toes get tingly. Don't let your legs become uncomfortable. Arrange them as you need. Finding that support. Starting to engage your body. You're going to do some grounding and some centering here. So you can begin by tilting that lower girdle, pulling that back body down, lifting that front body. It's a subtle move. Pressing the knees away, flexing the feet. It doesn't matter where your legs are as you do this. They can be in many different positions in order to, and it's all about you trying to find that stable base and feel yourself grounding into that place beneath you. You're paying attention to your navel. That's where you're centering your attention. And you're paying attention to your breath coming in and out of your body, filling up on the inhale and releasing on the exhale. You don't have to do really anything special other than observe. Keeping awareness in the body, how you're holding yourself in that lower girdle. Let that upper girdle be as engaged. The heart lifts into the space in front of you. You gently pull those shoulders out of your ears. It's a anti-shrug move. It's the whole upper girdle engaging and pulling down. You might feel a slight stretch. If it does bother you, don't add too much engagement. Collarbone slides apart. The front body lifts. The back body supports. Still, you are paying attention to your breath, inhaling and exhaling. And every time you find yourself not paying attention to your breath, that's exactly when you're doing yoga right. So bring yourself back to your breath with kindness, compassion, and love. That's what you're practicing. If you feel yourself not holding yourself or engaging in your body, that's exactly when you're doing it right, and just engage, just re-engage. It's that simple. You're here to practice that movement. You're here to practice being kind, compassionate, and loving with yourself. And then, if you are already kind, compassionate, and loving with yourself, then send it out into the universe, because we need some good, loving vibes. The breath is as full and deep as feels good, and you're filling up the lower third, then the middle third, then the upper third, and release fully upper, middle, lower. And you could then let the whole body get involved. When you fill up the lower third, press your navel in the space in front of you. The middle third, the ribs move up and apart. The breath goes into the upper third. The heart lifts up in your chest. And then you exhale, your heart and chest relaxes, your ribs move down and together. And then you gently pull your navel back and up into your body. And then the inhale happens again. You fill up navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Stay in awareness of your trunk, that lower girdle, pulling that back body down, lifting that front body, not letting your toes get tingly, so arranging your legs, finding that support and that lift. Both things are happening, the grounding, the centering, and then also the lift and the reach. Feel yourself really engage. Maybe you feel a little crackling in the energetic field around you. Try to stretch into that energetic field around you. And then take your time. Hands can come to your heart, of course. Any engagement that you've added at any time, let it release whenever is necessary for you. Breathing full and deep. And if you'd like to spend a few breaths on your own intention or adding to something that I've spoken about or a combination of the two, please do that. And then let your hands come down, let your eyes crack open, let your legs unwind however they are. If you're sitting up tall on something, or like maybe a cushion or another blanket, take it out from underneath you. Let your knees fall side to side. Oh, that hip just cracked. I love that. Let those knees fall side to side, waking up from that seated position, inhaling and exhaling. Breathing full and deep. Stay with your breath. Now, don't put any weight on your limbs, so stay with that, holding yourself in your trunk. And then into just a comfortable butterfly position. I'm going to open this blanket up just a titch, just to help with the support of the ankles. I don't like to be in any distress. I don't like to hurt myself. So I always take time. If the teacher's moving really fast through it, I'm still taking my time getting a blanket down. I want you to do the same stuff. So you're in that butterfly pose. Your soles of your feet, the balls are touching, your heels are touching, and your feet are as close to you as feels good. Inhaling and exhaling. And this is a great place to have some blocks, so hopefully they're within reaching distance, having them in front of you. Pull that back body down, lift that front body. However you want to reach your arms up, whether you reach wide or you just go straight up. We're just going to come forward into these butterfly rows. So this is just, we do this a lot in all different positions. Right now it's with the butterfly. If you don't like the reach up, you can always keep your arms, your girdle still engaged, and I'm just reaching forward. So it really just depends on what feels good to you. I want you to do this a few times. Try to feel those girdles engaged. Keep pulling that back body down. Keep lifting that front body, keeping those shoulders out of your ears. The next time that we are reaching forward, and it doesn't matter how you get there, reach for the floor or the block, something. Try to stay lifted. I'm hinging into over these legs, not rounding, and I'll turn so you can. And my feet are pretty close, but you're going to get different sensations. So I want you to play around and decide what feels good to you. I'm keeping that front body raised. Keep pulling down that back body. All the same things are always happening. And then you don't want to be too far forward. So if you really are flexible and can bring your chest down to your legs, lift yourself up and then walk yourself a little bit over to the right. And I'm going to keep that left side connected as I walk over to the right to get this beautiful stretch. I've got the girdle engaged. I'm trying to square my navel and my heart over my arms. And so if your hands and arms, and if you can't quite do that, then walk yourself back a little bit so you can. I don't want you to hurt yourself. All right, bring yourself back. I don't want you to overstretch. It's not necessary to overstretch. You don't have to go as far as you can. I want you to learn how to go just as far for that hurts so good. All right, bring yourself to the other side, right? We have two sides. We have all kinds of sides. Well, you're always trying to find that symmetry. Your right side and left side, depending on what's dominant, right's always going to be different, and you just get used to it. And this yoga is a great way to help you really see how your body works. All right, back into that. So you reach to both sides. Just make sure you've done that. Back into that neutral position to bring yourself up, to bring those legs together. Remember, if you do bring your arms behind you, you're not putting all your weight. Try to stay up in your girdle as you up in your trunk. So you're holding yourself in your girdle. That's what I mean. So Um, breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest, exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. And then when you're ready, bring yourself around onto the stomach, and we're going to do a few things here on the stomach. And let yourself, when you get down, just do whatever feels good. Here, I'm going to windshield wiper back and forth. I've got my face up and I'm looking at the device that is doing this, but you don't have to look at me if you don't need to. You can be with your head down. I get this wonderful stretch. I've made a little pillow for my forehead, and I get this nice stretch on my back, so do that, or you can always bring one ear down, whatever feels good. And then after a few more breaths, you're going to let yourself stop whatever you're doing and then let your legs extend. So now I want you to have those legs extend down your mat. You're going to bring those hands right underneath your shoulders, and you're engaging that body. So you're pulling that back body down. That back body is trying to pull down towards your heels, and you're trying to lift your front body, and so it's scraping on the mat. So really feel heavy in that back body. Make sure that you can feel the top of your feet and your toes on the mat. Inhale and exhale. And we're going to do a few Crea baby cobra. So just let yourself look down with that long neck. It's just like you can Eskimo kiss the mat. And you're going to inhale, lift a little bit, exhale, then come down one ear. Inhale, lift, look at the mat, exhale, come down one ear. Keep those lower bodies heavy. You're doing that side to side. You're coming down on one ear and one cheek, and then only coming up as far as your back will lift you. It's not going to be a big move. Doing that a few times. Inhale and exhale. And then I want you to pause with your face down towards closer to the mat, like your nose is just right there. Now I want you to lift and look over your left shoulder, and then come down looking back at the mat, and then lift over your right shoulder. This is a teeny tiny Cobra Crea, and now you're practicing looking over your shoulder. When do you have to look over your shoulder on a regular basis, right? Anytime that you are moving, whether it be in a vehicle, in traffic, keep practicing. Couple more. You're looking over that shoulder. Your arms are gently underneath your shoulders. Pause. So even if you're on a bicycle or a motorcycle, or if you're walking, you still have to be able to look over your shoulder. All right, release. Relax. Let yourself move however feels good. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. So those baby cobras, I'm putting no pressure on my hands. My arms are definitely engaged and my girdle's engaged, and I'm gently like trying to drag my hands back on the mat, pulling those elbows in, but I am not pressing into my hands at all. And I really encourage you to practice that move because it is amazing. And I know it's not, the full cobra, but I don't want you to overstretch. Now you're back into that beginning position. Pull that back body down, hands down by your hips now, palms up or palms down. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you're protecting those shoulders and elbows. If your legs are internally or externally rotating in or out, make sure that you get them so they're more in a neutral position. And it's not just about squeezing the glutes, though the glutes are engaged. It's about that framework. And so feel yourself really move from that center as you inhale, and let the legs now floating together come up, and maybe your knee comes off the floor, maybe part or all of your thigh comes up off the floor. You're looking down at the mat in that almost Eskimo kiss move, and if it feels good to you, then you're still breathing even though you're holding the posture, inhale and exhale. Now if you want to reach that upper body, it's like you're trying to stretch from that center. Keep those pelvic girdles engaged, so keep pulling that back body down, keep lifting that front body down, up, good, front body up, whatever you're doing with your limbs, whether you resting them down and stretching or stretching with them up, and then release. Let yourself rest on one cheek, windshield wiper, or maybe like a little wiggle, sometimes a little wiggle on your Front body feels good after some of those. I love those poses. All that stuff. It's so subtle, but it's so good for building that lower body and back body strength, which is what you need in order to function better in the world. All right, lift yourself up. Take your time. Protect everything. Don't hyperextend anything. Find yourself on your hands and knees and press back into your child. Let yourself completely reset in a child, breathing full and deep. If you need cushion for your knees, make sure that you bring it down. And then lift yourself, coming into your stable table. So your hands spread really wide, right underneath your shoulders. Do not hyperextend those elbows. Keep them nice and soft. Your fingers just have a gentle grip. You're going to then make sure those knees are right underneath your hips. And then do that teeny tiny pelvic tilt in order to find that place of support where you're pulling that back body down, lifting the front body, and then pull your blades together, pull them apart without hyperextending those elbows to find that place of support. That's when they're pulling apart. And so now your lower and upper girdle are locked into place. And then the cat and cow is in the middle back. Inhale and exhale. So if you hear me do all that description and it doesn't make sense to you, you of course don't have to add it. If you're like, I don't get it, that's all right. And if you hear all that description and you want to add it, try. I want you to try because it's amazing. You do all this engagement from the inside, all this manipulation, and it is amazing. I have to do a lot. Stay with your breath. And it does. It takes a lot of energy, but it's good energy. It's energy that's keeping you, mobile and flexible. Into your neutral table, rest back into a child just to give yourself a break off that upper body. Inhale and exhale. This is where if you are feeling, no matter how long you do yoga, you're probably still going to feel it in those delicate joints. And so you're being very gentle and delicate as you wind them around. Inhaling and exhaling, bringing yourself up into your table when you're ready. And this is where you can curl your toes. You can either stay in your stable table, pulling that back body down, lifting that front body, or doing that, pull that back body down, lift that front body, and then curl those toes, keep those knees bent, and then lift your lower body up, and then your upper body is coming low. You're not hyperextending those elbows. You're keeping those shoulders out of your ears. You are breathing full and deep. Keep those knees bent. Come up on those toes because that feels really good to give that stretch. But then you settle in on the balls of your feet. And maybe you just see I walked my feet just a little bit closer in order to get that more comfortable in my stance. I'm pulling my kneecaps up into my thighs and I'm keeping those knees really bent. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. And you can move your head. Just don't make sure you're not hurting yourself. All right, after a few breaths, you're either going to walk up to the front of your space, and you can use blocks or a chair, or you're going to come down to hands and knees or step up from hands and knees to come into that forward fold. You're finding that hinge. That weight is in the back body. Keep those knees bent, those kneecaps pulled up into your thighs, and then you hinge and move as much or as little as feels good to you. Stay with your breath. Try not to do any work with your toes. You're starting to see how those balls are doing the work. And you can play around with, I love, as it took me, this is like one of those things where I played around with, like almost coming forward, like I'm going to do a somersault, to play around with, okay, I'm almost going to fall back. And like how, holding yourself in that center of your body. And so that is where the magic is happening and nobody talks about it. All right, we're going to, from that forward fold, inhale halfway, flat back, keep those knees bent. Exhale, reach for the toes. Inhale halfway, flat back. Really try to find that halfway hinge up. Exhale, hinge down. Remember, those knees can be really bent until you get a little bit more open. Inhale and exhale. The next time you can move all the way up into that reverse swan dive, unless you're like, no thanks, I'm going to come up in steps, because you're always the boss of you. And then lift into as much of a back bend as feels good, only reaching back, but keep those girdles engaged. So you're really activating that back and lower body in order to support you. It's not just you squeezing the muscles. And then you are lifting that front and upper body in order to get that wonderful stretch. And then find yourself in your mountain posture. Your hands come wherever feel comfortable, at your heart, at your navel. One of each, out to the side, doesn't matter, breathing full and deep. But find those legs in that not externally rotated out, not internally rotated in position. So your legs are just plugged into that neutral position right at your hip flexors. You're engaging the balls and the heels, lifting your digits and spreading them wide and bringing them down with a gentle grip on your mat. Kneecaps up into your thighs. Keep those knees nice and bent. And then that first girdle manipulation, drop that back body, lift that front body. Remember, it's not just squeezing the glutes. It is glutes and framework. I really got to pull that lower pelvis into place. Navel dimples. I am solid as a rock. It feels good. I'm not hyperextending those knees at all. So then navel dimples up. It is light. That rib cage, that heart slides right over that navel. Shoulders come out of the ears. Breathing full and deep, and be in your mountain. Stay with your breath. Stay with how you're speaking to yourself, with kindness, compassion, and love. And just soak it all in. This is like you are plugging in. It's like you're like a cell phone. Like you're plugging in. You need to do that as much. Like everybody needs that recharge. So you have to make sure that you're taking it for yourself. All right, so you're on your mat. Let yourself just turn to the long edge of your space and make sure that you start with those feet. Before you bring them too wide, we are going to go to a wider leg stance, but make sure that you have control. You've got that girdle engaged. Those legs are plugged in to your lower trunk in that neutral position. The knees are not turned out or turned in. The same with the toes. I had to really manipulate and look at my feet to get my toes all lined up. You might not have to, but I really had to do that, to physically look and then move. All right, so then you're going to start stepping a little bit further apart. Keep those kneecaps pulled up into your thighs. I don't want you to lose control. I want you to keep the weight on your back body. Don't use your toes as you walk out, and then come into a wide-legged forward, or a wide-legged position. You're pulling that back body down, lifting that front body at that lower pelvis, at that lower pelvis, at the pelvis is lower, at that lower girdle, and then hands can be at your hips as you hinge forward into that wide-legged forward fold. And it doesn't have to be very wide-legged, and I'll turn this way so you can see I'm keeping my knees bent, and I'm just letting myself come forward. You can reach for blocks here, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. Inhale and exhale. It doesn't have to be super wide-legged. It just has to be a little bit wide-legged. So you start to, and I want you to play around with holding yourself, making sure that you don't lose control. I do not want you to be out of control of yourself, ever, of your legs. All right, you're going to lift yourself up. Really feel yourself. Use that pelvis in order to bring yourself up. And then step your legs together just to come into that neutral position. I like to march around a little bit and then come into some stillness. Still trying to find the balls and heels, not letting the toes do any work. And then let your legs come out once again to a little bit wider. Stay with the neutral position. You're not doing anything internally or externally rotating yet with your legs. So keep pulling that back body down. Keep lifting that front body as you walk out. And then you're going to turn. So now you are going to externally rotate that right leg. And then you're going to internally rotate that left leg. They're actually both happening at the same time as you bring that right knee over that right ankle, settling into your warrior two. Once you feel steady with that lower body, let yourself then reach and lift with that upper body. Inhale and exhale. So this back leg Kneecap protected, knee not hyperextended. Look down at that left foot, that heel just a little bit further away than the toes. Make sure the toes are not doing any work. I can lift my toes here, there's no grip. So that's internally rotating in order to get that leg, that's getting that nice massage. Then this right leg is externally rotating. That right kneecap wants to go towards the big toe, but you have to really externally rotate. At least I have to really externally rotate within my body in order to get that kneecap to go towards the pinky toe side of my foot. And I'm not using my balls. Inhale and exhale. Lift yourself up, bringing yourself into that little clap up above, and then keeping you've lengthened, but you do not hyperextend that right knee. You're going to let yourself now come into a triangle. So we held in Warrior 2 there for a moment, and now we are lifting, and then our upper bodies to come down into, to be even with our hips, to come into triangle. Keep those kneecaps protected. Inhale and exhale. Keep using those balls. You're still internally rotating the back leg, externally rotating the front leg. And I'm calling the right leg front because that's what I'm reaching over. The back leg is left right now. All right, lift yourself up. Take your time. This is where you need to protect yourself. I want you to bring your arms wherever feel good. I want you to walk your legs together however feels good. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I just want you to notice what it feels like. It feels like I'm standing on a stair after doing that stretch all on that one side, and then you could do the other side later, right? You can do it later before you go to bed. We can just move on to something else. Ha ha ha, that's my yoga joke. All right, I'm here all week. All right, now you're gonna walk your legs out a little bit further. Keep those legs in neutral in order to be protected. And then that left leg is now gonna externally rotate, and the back right leg now is going to internally rotate. Actually, these blocks in the way, they look like they're getting in your way. And you're pulling that back body down, lifting that front body, coming into your Warrior 2. We hung out here for a little bit. I wanted you to hang in this lunge. I wanted you to marinate in this lunge. I wanted you to feel how your trunk is where the magic's happening, right? That internal and external rotation at your hip sockets is where the magic is happening. If it is super painful, then you've gone too far. If it is intense and hurts so good, then you're right in the sweet spot. Breathe, send the breath. Inhale and exhale. Let yourself be here for another couple breaths. You can come out at any time. You know that we're going to come out. We're going to lift. We're going to lift and we're going to lengthen that front leg. You're still holding yourself in your trunk, reaching those arms up. You can clap, and then make sure that lower body is solid. I want you to hinge. That's what a triangle is. It's just a hinge over triangle legs. So remember, that back right leg now, that back leg is internally rotated. That front leg, the left leg, is externally rotated. And I want you to hold yourself between those places, where those hips are rotating. Inhale and exhale. Those limbs are rotating at the hip socket, breathing full and deep, coming into your triangle. Try to pay attention to your head. Does your head point down to the floor? Lift it and have it point more towards where the wall meets. And then lift yourself up. Take your time. Hands at your hips. Walk your legs together however feel good, bringing yourself into your mountain pose, and notice how you feel. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Let's come down into a downward dog or a table for a few breaths. And then we're going to make our way onto our back. But I want you to be with your breath. I don't want you to rush there. Inhale and exhale. I want you to marinate in that downward dog, and then rest in that table, and then go back into that child. Or maybe you go right to the table with the child, or maybe you just go right to the child. It doesn't matter what you choose. You are choosing for you. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. And then when you're ready, you're going to bring yourself onto your mat, and onto your back, however feels comfortable. This is a place where I like to do a thin blanket, and this is where you got to be really careful because you don't want to whack your neck out of alignment. But I like to do a thin blanket, and then I rest right at my occipital lobe, right on the edge. So I remember that, and that helps me keep my chin tucked. You try it if you like it. If it doesn't cause discomfort, maybe you notice that it keeps the back of your neck long, and so you have to play around and find that place that works best. And then, so do that if you'd like. It really does add that nice quality because you keep your neck protected. So no matter what you're doing with your neck, you're always keeping it protected, whether you're using a blanket or not on the occipital lobe. You're gonna let your legs first move side to side, and then make sure you've got that pelvis into place. I really got to crank mine. I want to keep those glutes down towards the floor, so I keep that massage on that low back. Remember though, if this aggravates your low back, don't do it. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. Stay with your feet on the floor, and just do the rock, the circle, or the windshield wiper back and forth. Inhaling and exhaling, and then bring those feet down. Left leg extends, right knee is bent. You could be reaching up over that right thigh. Have those feet flexed. Keep that neck long. Keep those shoulders out of your ears. Stay right here with your girdles engaged, pressing through those heels, and that neck is long. Or on your next exhale, so take a big inhale. On this exhale, let yourself lift. So keep that neck long. Let that left heel pop up off the floor. Don't grip on with your life for that right leg. In fact, the right leg is doing all the work. I want you to always have jazz hands. Inhale. It's a matter which leg you have pulled in. If it's not right, just make sure you manage that. You're going to let the right leg extend down next to the left leg. You're going to notice how you feel, and then start to move. Rock, circle, whatever feels good. And then set yourself up other side. So we're coming into that half wind reliever. Get those girdles engaged. So really get into that place of support, and then stretch from that place. Really be heavy right there behind the navel.
Could you say that again?
My phone or my my watch always goes off. Inhale and exhale scares me the dickens out of me. Inhale and exhale, breathing fully. So you're in that half wind reliever. No pulling with that upper body. Remember, jazz fingers, jazz hands. Let yourself release. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. And then bend those knees, windshield wiper. Reset however feels good to you. And then let's do a little pigeon on our back, right? I'm going to bring my right ankle to my left knee. I keep bringing both glutes down to the floor. Even though I have lifted that left foot, my right and my left glute are trying to come down. And then only if it feels good to you do you reach for the back of that leg. If you do reach for the back of that leg, try to bring your upper body back down with that nice long neck, and you're not pulling on the back of that leg. You're never pulling on the back of any leg. There's delicate tendons back there. Breathing full and deep in your reclining pigeon. Stay with your breath. And then I have the left foot up. I'm going to bring the left foot down. I'm going to bring the right foot down next to the left foot. I'm going to move through a couple little moves, and then I'm going to do the same thing. So I've got my glutes down to the floor, but now my left ankle is coming to my right knee, my left knee, and my left glute. So my left hip is what is pressing my left knee away. That is how it works. And then, because everything's connected, and then you're bringing yourself up. That's one of the wonderful things about yoga. It helps you see how everything, and really understand how everything's connected in your own body. Like, you can't help but notice it if you're paying attention. You're always protecting yourself and taking care of yourself. You're not overdoing it or overstretching. You're always making sure that it is a hurt so good, not a, oh my God, this is making me nutso type of sensation. All right, reset, rock, circle, inhale, breathe full and deep. And then this is where take a few moments and do some poses that feel good to you. Maybe you want to do some twists. I would definitely recommend putting those twists in your middle back, not so much your low back, but you are of course always the boss of you. Always try to have that engagement of your, I say always try to have that engagement of your girdles all the time. Make sure you've got your layers that you might have stripped off close to you, or you start to put them on. Take time to do that. I always get chilly as I cool down. I think that's most people do, so you want to make sure that you will be comfortable. And then make sure you take time here at the end in order to integrate. You either lay in relaxation or you sit in meditation. And whether it be 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you want to do it, make sure you continue to practice treating yourself with kindness, compassion, and love. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. Have a good one. Bye.